We're back. I'm speaking with Catherine Swift on some of the proposed changes on the IFRS standards. Catherine, I'd never heard about these standards. What are the proposed changes and what impact will they have on small to medium-sized business?
Well, the IFRS is part of an international standards body. You've heard of the Canadian Standards Association. You know, there when you plug in a lamp, you see a little CSA thing on it that says it's been approved for electrical, safety and all that kind of stuff. So we have standards bodies here in Canada that do all kinds of different things, that set all kinds of different standards for industries and so on. The IFRS is International Financial Reporting Standards, and they are very much underpinning the international accounting regime that applies. But countries have to accept it. This is something else. It is, at the moment anyway, voluntary acceptance. So in other words, countries have to accept it. And the change we were speaking of briefly before the break there is actually in the accounting profession is one of the biggest proponents of this, which I find appalling because accountants have to know better than anybody what is going to be good or bad for business. Presumably, every day they're dealing with businesses. They should be the community that's out there saying this is outrageous. It should never happen, and fix it now. But instead, they see monumental fees being, because what is going to happen is a lot of businesses, to try to conform with this red tape nightmare, which is what it is. They're going to have to hire consultants or lawyers or accountants or all of the above to help them conform to this new accounting standard. What it basically does, and I like to give the example of a small grocer, just for example. So you've got your neighborhood grocer, the person you go to get those really great mangoes from, or you love your little local grocer. Well, that business owner, who probably has 4 or 5 employees tops, is going to have to know where every single product in their store comes from. Does it come from an area that has some kind of where the water is perhaps under some kind of stress, where the water system is under stress? Is there some kind of indigenous aspect to what's going on wherever that product comes from? And it goes on and on and on. Is there some kind of gender issue that should be considered when that business buys a given product and so on? I mean, you just can't imagine the complexity, even for a big business, to have to figure out that kind of stuff, let alone a small business. They're supposed to know where emissions, that mango, what kind of emissions were involved in producing that mango in South America or something. But anyway, I'm just giving examples to show how incredibly absurd this is. And of course, the whole supposed goal is to have more environmentally accomplishments on the environmental front, climate change and all that, as well as factoring in social goals such as so-called equity, gender, and so on. But in reality, all this is going to do is invite people to figure out some way around the system, to not comply with it, but pretend they are. It's not going to accomplish any kind of climate objectives, but it's going to be a killer of business. And I seriously wonder in my weaker moments, is that the plan here? Is this really the left, which is promoting this, has always hated small business for a whole range of different reasons. And this is a very devious way of getting rid of a lot of the small business community, if that is your goal.
It certainly is a huge burden, and one that is almost unfathomable as a small business person to have to take on. We just have about a minute and a half left. You recently made a submission to the IFRS on these proposed changes. Can you just, in the last minute that we have, tell us about your submission and what feedback you gave them?
Well, the feedback we gave was that this was impossible for business to comply to. And it wasn't going to accomplish the goals that they say it's going to do. And what it's going to do is potentially line the pockets of those consultants, accountants, et cetera. And any policy that creates more jobs in the consulting industry than it does in the real economy, which is actually producing goods and services that consumers are demanding, that's a very problematic policy. Again, I mentioned the fact that this is going to create great incentives for people to cheat, to try to get around the system, which is not the objective. And that frankly, the whole thing should be scrapped. That was the conclusion. It should be scrapped. There are better ways of reaching improved climate objectives.
So, Catherine, we just have 30 seconds left. How did these changes go virtually undetected? And why are so many large corporations going along with this?
Well, they're like a lot of things, Jocelyn. Your average person, they're not going to know about this stuff. It's not that they're secret in the sense that, yes, if you go on the IFRS website, you can see this stuff. But it's just like a lot of the World Economic Forum. This is all part and parcel, of course, of the same thing. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy kind of thing.